welcome back. You're listening to the Cinema Condition with your host, filmmaker, and creator of the Nerdcore Podcast Network, Raul Alejandro Mendoza, or how I prefer you guys to call me, the Nerdy Chicano. And today I am joined by a new guest as we discuss a new film this week. Last week we saw Rachel Sweetland coming on the podcast here with me in studio to talk about Interview with the Vampire. But this week we have our wonderful friend and renowned fan of cinema as well, Alejandra Escutia Angulo. And I hope I pronounced that correctly. But Alejandra is a big fan of cinema as well. She loves movies. She's a big fan, more than movies, she loves the theater. She loves musical theater as well. So Alejandra's here to talk about Quentin Tarantino's 2009 film, Inglourious Bastards. And hello, how are you doing today, Alejandra?
Hello. I'm fine, thank you. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So I've known Alejandra for a really long time, and I've never really invited her on the show. I don't know why, knowing how
Yeah,
much...
that's true. Why?
We're gonna start this way. You're gonna start. What's it called? They're asking me why. It's just Alejandra's probably like one of the most smartest people I know when it comes to movies, and she has like so much to say about them. And not gonna lie, I'm nervous right now talking to her because I know a lot, but I don't think I know as much as Alejandra. Like, you guys don't understand this. At Alejandra's school, she held the film stock for, I believe it was The Sound of Music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like...
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm a cinephile. Fuck no. Alejandra is way more than a cinephile than I am. And I get nervous just, talking to someone. Like, it's the same nerves that I would have talking to my professors, who are my film professors. So... Alejandra, I hope that after this, Alejandra can come on the main show because we have a lot of stuff that we want to talk on there. Hopefully, maybe we can get her on for the Birds of Prey review because, oh my God, I'm so excited to watch that.
Oh, yeah, I'm also waiting to watch it. I love that movie. I've been waiting for it for so long.
Yeah. So I'm really, really excited to see that. But today we're going to talk about Blasters. No, Inglorious Bastards.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I would get tongue-tied, and it's a little bit of the nerves too. So, Alejandra, why? If we want to get into this, I ask really, why did you pick this movie?
Oh my God. Well, I think personally that in the case of Tarantino movies, I think Glorious Bastards has to be like on the top of all time. Like for me, it's Kill Bill Volume 1, Inglourious Bastards, and Django, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think those three are like his top movies of all time, like the best ever for me at least. And in the case of Glorious Bastards, I chose it because it's just so different from that kind of narrative in movies. Like we've all seen movies about World War II, about Hitler, and about the Holocaust, and about all these things. But this one is very different to the rest. I think that makes it like really, really special to me to watch. And also, it's really interesting to see what he's doing with the story because it's not like a historical drama. It's
Mm-hmm.
more like a fictional historical drama, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And I think it's really interesting. And also, like the characters and the acting and the camera shots and everything, I think it's just really great.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. This is actually my favorite Tarantino film. It's this one. And then Django, because Django holds a special place in my heart, being the movie that I watched that made me realize, like, oh, I want to get into this business. Like, I kind of want to make movies.
Yeah.
And then, Kill Bill, the whole two movies, I count them as one. I know people who count them as, one and one, but no, I count them as one. So let's go ahead and introduce the director of Quentin Tarantino here. So, he was born March 27, 1963. Don't ask me what age he would be because I'm terrible at math. At age 15, he drops out of school and he starts to work at the Pussycat Theater, which is an adult theater over there where I believe in California. So he would start working there. But what's it called? It wasn't really until 1992 when he debuted with his first film, Not Inglorious Bastards. I'm so sorry. Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs. He was writing the script for Reservoir Dogs years before, but he finished the script and then he wanted to make the movie, but obviously he didn't have money because he was an independent filmmaker, didn't really have money for it. So the first script, one of his first scripts that he wrote, True Romance, was the one that he sold off, and they made the film, and he was able to get the money he made from selling that script off. He was able to make Reservoir Dogs in '92. So uh, a lot of his career has been interesting because he was offered films like Speed and Men in Black, but he
Oh,
left. Yeah, but he left to Amsterdam to work on his next film, which would be, of course, Pulp Fiction. And in 1994, he releases Pulp Fiction, and he gets an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. And I want to say he truly creates the Tarantino style filmmaking with Pulp Fiction. But the Tarantino style does take from different directors, such as Jean-Luc Godard and a lot of other filmmakers in the B movies that he watched when he was a video store. What's it called? Worker. So he has been nominated for multiple Oscars, but he's never really won the Best Director award. And I don't know if that will change on Sunday when the Oscars happen. So this episode gets recorded very, very early. So the Oscars are way after this. So don't castrate me because I don't know if he already won, because I don't know. I really don't know. This is being recorded early. Um, and finally, his other hits include, his blaxploitation film Jackie Brown, his grindhouse film Death Proof that he made with what's it called, in conjunction with Robert Rodriguez, who made Planet Terror. He also has, of course, his 2012 film Django Unchained. He has the Hateful Eight. He has the Kill Bill films as well, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And his most recent one is his love letter to 60s Hollywood, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that came out last year. That is our wonderful director and probably the most famous right now. Honestly, if you were to ask anybody what is the first director that comes to your mind who is into movies, they always bring up either Tarantino or probably Scorsese. But
yeah.
Tarantino is up there, and honestly, we're here to finally talk about one of his movies. We've actually reviewed this one on the Nerdcore, on the main show. We did a whole month of Tarantino before we watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And we talked about this one, and man, I sing the praises for this movie every time. But there's a lot of themes presented in this movie. It's really hard to pinpoint all the themes because like I say, Tarantino really does take from everybody, and that's not really a bad thing. It's something, but he really does present a lot of interesting themes, especially the. I don't know if you see this, but the whole idea of the femme fatale in this, it's really
Oh, yeah.
Shoshana. Yeah. Yep.
I think actually I want to talk about that in the case of Inglorious Bastards, but maybe a bit more ahead. I don't want to lose the order, but I was thinking about that. And also, I want to say that Tarantino's birthday is the same day as mine.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes, you share your birthday with QT. That's why. That's right.
I know, it's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. You're not as old as QT though, for sure.
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm like maybe 30 years younger than him, so
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh, Tarantino, what's it called with this film? Like Alejandra said in the beginning, it's not a historical drama. It's very much influenced by his love of the spaghetti western. Also, very much French films as well in this one. You get a little bit of instance of appreciation of the American noir in this too, but mostly it is 100% his attempt to make his spaghetti western thrown in with his revisionist history in this film, which I think it makes for me his best movie, because I think this is the movie where he's not usually the self-indulgent Tarantino who's like kind of just making the movie and like it loses himself at one point, but he's like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna keep just making it, just kind of indulge himself a bit. This is very grounded. It's very much his. To me, it is his masterpiece. This is the one that he kind of perfects. What do you think, Alejandra?
Yeah, I think it is definitely like his peak. Like, Kill Bill Volume 1 before that, it was amazing, but then Inglorious Bastards, I think, is like the peak of his technique, like the development of his work, I think is amazing, and I think it reached its highest point in Inglorious Bastards because not only did he manage to get like the best actors ever to play the
Mm-hmm.
characters that he wrote, but also he managed to, I don't know, to like convey an entire story based entirely on suspense, like the thrill of the suspense and the fear, and because I think he was playing more into the sense of the fact that we all know what happened with the Nazis and who the Nazis were and what was going on with them, and so he just relies on the audience, like, oh, you already know. I don't have to introduce these characters to you. You already know that when you see a character with a Nazi uniform, you know what's gonna happen. You know something is gonna go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like that and the dialogues and the fact that the movie is mostly in other languages and not in English,
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
really a risky move to make a Hollywood movie in other languages that are in English for the most part and
Mm-hmm.
only rely on subtitles. And yet, I think I mean, I don't have a problem with subtitles, obviously, but I think that was a really like a really good power move. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you want to watch this movie? Okay, you gotta read the subtitles, and you're gonna get it. Don't worry about it.
It's kind of what's happening. What happened last year with Parasite? You know, Parasite just
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely
Yeah,
broke
yeah.
into the zeitgeist, and it's like, oh, you fucking Americans! I'm gonna make you guys go watch a movie in subtitles. I have no problem with it. I just wish that I just wish that the titles, subtitles were a different color so I could see them better when those
Yeah,
scenes when it's
exactly.
in sunlight and they're white, and I'm like, oh crap, I can't see them for shit. But
Also, it's like I think because these also the actors are really familiar faces,
mm-hmm,
like um, like Diane Kruger, for example. Like we've seen her in a lot of other Hollywood movies speaking English, and here she's speaking German. And Melanie Laurent, who is also in a lot of movies speaking in English,
mm-hmm,
she's in here speaking French, and I think that's pretty great.
yeah,
And yeah, and in the case of Christopher Waltz, which I have to say, that guy, how I mean, how does he talk so many languages and then just nobody really knew um the extent of his language capabilities. Like
mm-hmm,
he speaks German, French, Italian, English. Like that's incredible. I think that's amazing.
yeah.
And he just really never knew that he had um, such a repertoire in terms of languages. And I think that's pretty great. And in a sense, I guess kind of what makes the movie because if you see, for example, like the opening scene,
Mm-hmm.
he's in control of that scene. Like the camera only moves when
Yes.
he moves.
Mm-hmm.
So the languages that he speaks are the ones that are spoken throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm. Well.
And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. I mean, it's a really good way to like set,
Mm-hmm.
like the president, like, oh, this is the one you have to care about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm thankful that you just brought that up because that allows us to segue into the opening shot. Like the first scene we see, the what's it called? The Once Upon a Time in Nazi occupied France. That is Tarantino absolutely what's it called? His that's 100% the style. Like you see it, the very vibrant
Yeah,
colors, the scenery, but it's also the very witty dialogue. It's just it's when Tarantino writes the dialogue, it's absolutely it's very witty, but it's very confrontational as well. But it's also very like nonchalant in a way as well.
yeah, yeah. And also, it's very stressful to watch.
Yes.
Like I said, you already know what happened with the Nazis. And even
Mm-hmm.
though you don't know what's going on with the Jewish family and all of that, if you see Nazis arriving to someone's house, and you're gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, something's gonna go wrong.
I always, always, always get chills when the camera starts to go down and you see the family under the what's it called under, and you see them like covering their mouths and stuff, and I'm like,
Oh
I
yeah,
always get chills because that's when you know, oh shit,
yeah,
it's
yeah. I know. And also, I think it's really interesting that when the Nazis arrive, in the music you hear like Fur Elise playing, and that's like a very German thing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
also it's kind of soothing and sort of calm and quiet, and it's like it's the complete opposite of what's about to happen. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you hear that song, and it's not preparing you for the danger of like maybe a horror movie, and it puts you like a slow song and then it goes crescendo, but instead this one is a really calm, quiet song, and I think that's a really good way to like prepare the audience for the suspense they're just about to go through.
Mm-hmm. And also, I just gotta bring it up because it's what happens, and I gotta love the antagonist drinking milk. You know,
Um,
Malcolm McDonald in Clockwork Orange drinking milk. The guy from what's it called? Mad Max Fury Road drinking milk. What's it called?
yeah,
Christoph Waltz in this one drinking milk. So I had to bring that. That's just I love. I was seeing that. I was like, ah man, here we go. Antagonist drinking milk. Um, I also got to bring up you're talking about the suspense, and I think it's like that piece of music that comes at the end when he finally brings the soldiers in. It's incredible piece of music. He uses a
oh
lot
yeah,
of music in here from Ennio Morricone. Famous what's it called? Italian composer, creator of the wonderful score of the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. My favorite score from him is actually Cinema Paradiso. That's one of my favorite score of all time is that one. Ennio Morricone is probably one of the most incredible composers in this in Hollywood and in cinema in general. And when he brings that music, it's incredible in the use. He wanted Morricone to do the composing for this film, but obviously that didn't work out. He doesn't bring him until like Hateful Eight, which is funny because that's the last time he brings Morricone in too, because they had a falling out. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
how.
I mean, I think it's really cool that he used that score because it ties in with the subject of like making an spaghetti western mix
Mhm,
with like the Nazi occupation in France. And I think
yeah.
that's a really interesting concept, and also it's really good idea that he used those songs to also kind of set the type of movie that you're about to watch. Like, oh, this is a mixture,
Hmm.
and I think that's really good. That's really cool, also.
Yeah, and throughout this whole, just the characterization I have no idea how to pronounce his name. His name is way too hard to pronounce. But Christoph Waltz's character, um, just Hans Landa. It's because it's standard viewer. Hans Landa, but
Yeah, hands on that, whatever.
I'm just gonna say Hans Landa because that first part is just absolutely hard. The only German term I know from back then that I'm able to what's it called completely pronounce is Ogobopenfua but that's because of what's it called Man in the High Castle. But
Right.
this one, fuck no, I cannot pronounce this. This is tough. But I'm famous for butchering every name possible on these podcasts. So just the power moves he has, where he's like, this whole time, I know, I have a feeling this whole time they haven't been able to understand us because we've been talking English. They don't know English, do they? And they're like, no. And he gets up and just the whole, toying with them, kind of like, because the whole time he's toying with him, he knows damn well there's Jews in that house,
Yeah, of course.
and he's just kind of toying with him, kind of make it seem like he doesn't know shit. And when he's even then at the end, when Shoshana is running away and he's pointing the gun and he's like, nah, I think I'm gonna let you keep going because you're my little like you're my pet in a way. I'm your prey and you're my prey and I'm your predator and I'm waiting. I just want to enjoy the hunt.
Yeah, that part, that whole opening scene is crazy to me. Like the first time I watched the movie,
Mhm.
I wasn't. Well, I actually played it for my mom, so I wasn't watching it with her. She was watching, and I was supposed to be doing something else. And I was like there in the room in my computer, and my mom was watching, and I got like entirely lost in that scene. Like I abandoned what I was doing, and I was watching the scene because I was like, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen now?" And then the
Mhm.
camera pans down, and you see like the family under the floorboard, and
Mhm.
that was crazy to me. I was like, oh my god, something is gonna go very wrong right now. Like, is he gonna kill just family? Is he gonna kill Lapadit and his daughters? Is he gonna kill everyone? Is he not gonna kill anyone? What is gonna happen? I was very very stressed
Yeah.
watching that. But I think like at the end, the release is sort of yes expected, but also not so much because even though you know it's a Tarantino movie and of course it's gonna be violence and a lot of blood, um, you get exactly that. But also the fact that he let Shoshana go is like, oh wait, why did he do that? Like that gives it a little more of a twist. Like it's not just standard murder Nazi ride scene. It's more like a yeah, well, it's definitely the precedent for and the base for the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it kind of reminds me of that bit in Kill Bill Volume One when Beatrix kills Ida and she sees the daughter and lets the daughter be, and it's like, oh, then something's gonna happen later, maybe,
Yep.
right?
Oh,
And in
yep.
this case, you have like maybe we don't know. And then in this case, you have like that girl that he let run away was the one that sort of ended everything up in the end of the movie. So it's really
Yeah.
cool.
I that what you just said just reminds me of the meme I sent you. Remember the one with the whole like what's it called, like the bride is better than than John
Oh
Wick,
yeah, Wick. Oh
right,
my god,
because he's
come
like
on.
killed that girl's mom in front of her and then said pull up when you're young, when you're older, like oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Oh my, yeah. It's incredible what he does in this opening scene. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that I think that it's Tarantino kind of perfecting himself. I gotta say the scene in the bar, wow. Oh,
Oh
that's
yeah. Oh come
uh,
on.
yeah.
And
It
also, I think I find it very interesting that these scenes, like the opening scene at the bar, specifically the scene at the bar, are so long. They take so much screen time, and yet you didn't really get bored of what's happening in the scene because again you have like this element of suspense and the camera movements that sort of help guide you and not get bored with just like one standard conversation shot. Instead, you have like camera changes and you have like close-ups and medium shots,
mm-hmm.
and you have the characters entering and moving and the blocking. And I think everything is really interesting, like the way in the scene at the bar. I think like the first moment when I thought, okay, this is gonna go wrong, is when Michael Fassbender and I don't remember the name of the character and
Mm-hmm.
Stiglitz and they all arrive and they see the bar is full of Nazis and it's like, what? I thought, okay, this is gonna go wrong. This can go wrong in many many ways, and also it's not just Nazis, but also drunk Nazis.
mm-hmm.
So I thought, maybe that's kind of harmless, but also maybe not. And then you see, like, out of the corner of your eye, you see that there's a guy at the very, very back of the bar listening to music and reading a book, and he's like, wait, who is the guy? So it just keeps adding elements for you to think that, like, to make you uneasy. Like, there's something that's not right here, but I don't really know what it is. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, like and the climatic moment of that is just um, this guy who doesn't know what the German tree looks like, and that's it, and it's so small, and it's so like maybe a little bit ridiculous. It's like really you spend all this time making it through with your bullshit story about how you were in a German movie and whatever, and then you had to blow it up like come on, really?
Well, it's what makes me laugh though so much with the whole Gorlavi thing, because he says he tells I believe what's it called, the other guy is like, you know what is what's it called, as far as I'm concerned you should actually start getting to learn Italian because you could start using it, like you start getting to learn, but it's Aldo, the one who just knows nothing, like like the one who knows nothing. It's crazy. It's that's the thing. Is Tarantino has a really interesting way where he kind of like blends his humor, but he also really does really well in the sense of like creating the tension, because that scene is tense from the beginning. It's really tense, but
Yeah, yes, it is. And also,
it's
I think it kind of makes it more tense because of the precedent of having Aldo ask Michael Fassbender about why Bridget was taking them to like this bar in in like a basement, and then I don't know something can go wrong, but like the other guys are just like, nah, it's gonna be fine. Come on, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's not, obviously. So before that, even with that scene, you already have like the idea implanted in your mind
Mhm.
that something's not quite right and something is gonna go wrong. And I
Mhm.
think that's a really good technique of like setting up the way for what the final explosion is going to be.
Yeah. Well, it's also because it's also just the way he frames his movies. This movie, like that shot, that over the shoulder shot with Daniel Bruhl, and he's when he does the German 3, and he's like, "Gotcha." That's how I just found out, and it's nothing like it's not
Yeah,
him getting up and be like, "Okay, no, night out, you American scum" or something, right? It's just him just there, just a simple grin, and then that's it. It's like it's just those little subtle things that Tarantino does in this movie that really like does perfect the way he creates tension, but also perfects the way he kind of crescendos his scenes in a way. But Aldo is just with the whole Mexican standoff, and it's like this is not a Mexican standoff. No, 100% it's a Mexican standoff, dude. You're pointing a gun at me, and I'm gonna throw down grenades. It's 100% a Mexican standoff. Uh, but it's this scene as well as what's it called? Of course, just the whole stuff in the theater at the end is incredible as well. But what's it called? This scene, it's the one that I always revisit. Like even after I finish the movie, I'll be like, oh, you know what? I just want to see this scene all over again, and I'll go back. Like you said, it always surprises me how long it is, but it doesn't feel long. It doesn't feel that long. It,
yeah, no, it doesn't. You
yeah.
kind of like get sucked in, and I feel like also camera shots because sometimes you feel like you're sitting at the table with them
Mm-hmm.
when they're playing the charades game. You kind of feel like you're with them, and then with this guy makes a three, and you get that over the shoulder shot. You're like, oh wait, I'm no longer with them. I kind of on the outside, and
Mm-hmm.
I can do nothing about this. Like this is entirely out of my hands. Now all I can do is watch how everyone gets shot to death.
Pretty much,
So
yeah.
yeah, and that's a pretty good technique. Like you get your audience sucked in, and then you sort of release them into this drama and pandemonium that's going down. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good technique that he's playing in there.
Yep. Yep. And it's 100%, what's it called? The style of spaghetti western in there. Like, serious. He has so many cowboy shots in that movie. It is crazy. Like, I'm like, yeah, he look, Tarantino loves what he loves, and he'll just mimic that style whenever he can. But for sure, I was gonna bring up what's it called? The scene that happens after when she's explaining there's not many feet shots in this movie, man. Not that much. Like
Oh, that's true.
there's
Yeah, like not
one,
barefoot shots.
literally
Like I think the
one.
only one I can think of is the one with Bridget with her heels made out of the cast
Mm-hmm.
when she's at the red carpet. I think that's the only one, and you can only
Yes,
see her toes. So it's kind of weird.
yeah. In this movie, he does absolutely nothing with the feet. He just like what's
Yeah.
it called? The scene that comes after the bar. It's just she's just kind of getting the bullet on her, just like putting her finger inside the bullet hole. Which oh man, that always makes me cringe every time. Like I feel
Oh
I'm like
yeah.
no, hell no, hell no. Uh, but I love the way he incorporates the Dutch angles in that scene as well. Oh, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of the Dutch angles, and when he uses them in this movie, it's incredible as well. Uh, but I am going to go ahead and check our time here because I believe we are ready for a commercial break because you all need to learn about the other shows on this network, not just mine. But yes, we are going to go ahead and go into a commercial break right now, and we're gonna go ahead and come back. But when we come back, we're gonna talk about the themes of Inglorious Bastards. We're finally gonna get into the talk of the femme fatale here because Shoshana is probably my favorite female character ever. And I put her in like top 10 characters ever, but she's my 100% my favorite female character in cinema. I love Shoshana so much.
Oh,
But
yeah, I love her too. She's amazing.
she's amazing. That's why she's the cover art for this episode. Of course, there was no other way. What's it called? She has to be the cover star for our episode. Shoshana, I love Shoshana. So with that being said, guys, we'll talk to you right now when we come back from commercial break. But go ahead and enjoy these commercials of all the other shows that are on the Nerdcore Podcast Network. We'll see you in a little bit. Hey, I'm Raul Alejandro Mendoza, and this is
Jabril Newton.
and we are the hosts of High Flyer
Radio.
And finally, pro wrestling has come back to the Nerdcore podcast feed in the form of a show hosted by Jabril and I. And we talk about everything and anything in the pro wrestling world on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Nothing's off limits. Whatever you guys want to talk about, it is from AEW to SmackDown to Raw to NXT. Nothing's off the table. We can talk about it.
We're going to talk all about it. And if you can get it a day early, you should go to the www.patreon.com/thenerdcore and pledge to the tiers on there so you can get this show and a lot of shows days early before anybody else gets to hear it. But enough talking about it. We'll go ahead and see you there at the Squared Circle. Oh, yeah. Don't tap out. Tune in.
Tune in.
Hey guys, this is Brad, aka Young Yoda. Raul said I had to make an ad, so that's what I'm doing. It's supposed to be for Unstructured, but as you guys know, you can freaking catch me everywhere when it comes to this podcast feed. You can find me on the Nerd Cores, on Gamer Cores, on Nerdy Chicanos sometimes when I get lost. But for this particular one, I want you guys to go check out Unstructured. The Raul gave me free reign to do whatever I want to do. I don't know what he was thinking. So go hear me talk about LeBron James and Taco Tuesday, vaping, so many other freaking weird topics that chimichangas, that's a good one. Shout out to Deadpool. And yeah, I guess this is the end of the ad. So if you guys want to find me, you can find me all over the place on this podcast feed. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I love you all. And nerd up.
Hello, 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 guys and gals, and you're listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore. I am your host, Daniela Nunez, and along with my amazing co-host, Ashley Garcia, we discuss many things like social impact, pop culture, political realms, and any controversy surrounding the Nerdverse. Tune in and listen to us bi-weekly on the Nerdcore podcast feed, and we will love to chat and hear your thoughts on our wonderful show. And thank you again for listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore.
Hey everyone, my name is Raul, the Nerdy Chicano, and I am the host of The Impaired Files. The Impaired Files is a interview show brought to you every Thursday on the Nerdcore podcast feed. And I interview people such as filmmakers, content creators on YouTube, and podcasters like Quentin Geschwander. And if you want to listen to that early, a whole week early, all you got to do is go to the Patreon and pledge to the $1 tier. And if you want to listen to it with the general public, then go to Nerdcore podcast feed on anchor.fm/the Nerdcore. And the case is closed, but it's not classified. See you guys there. All right, guys, we're back, and you guys heard those wonderful commercials. I hope you guys enjoy them. Soon there's going to be a commercial for this show, for the live streams when we do those on the other shows. But for now, just enjoy those commercials of the other shows on the network, and make sure you listen to those shows on the network. So, when you guys last heard from us, we were talking about Inglourious Bastards, and we're still here talking about the Inglourious Bastards, but we're going to go ahead and talk more insight on the themes of the film. And I want to get into possibly the biggest one, because I want to talk about this character, because to me, there are two shining stars in this film. Of course, it is Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa, who he does an incredible job in the film, just being, just with his acting, but also, what's it called? Shoshana, and played by, I've got her name here. I forgot. I'm sorry. Melanie Lama.
Laurent.
Yeah.
Laurent.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just my French lessons are paying off.
Yeah. Of course. Don't worry. If, I had to go off with my Italian lessons when I said Ennio Morricone. So hey, we're here. You can go ahead and show off the French lessons all you want. So,
awesome.
Yeah, we do have we have listeners in France, so they'll probably appreciate that a lot. So Shoshana, she is 100% the femme fatale in this film. She is the one who everything happens because of her. And she's the one who causes the downfall of the Nazis in this movie, of course. So if you guys don't know, we also have to talk about this theme as well, because a lot of people who don't like this movie are always bringing up the fact that it's revisionist history. So she is the reason why the Nazis all die and burn, and Adolf Hitler dies as well in this film, because of her staging that that basically the theater burning down, which is interesting because this theater means a lot to her. She's a fan of the movies as well, but she's like, I'm willing to burn this fucking theater down so I can kill these bastards. But because
Yeah.
she knew the minute they found out that she was Jewish, they were gonna burn that theater down eventually. So,
Yeah, of course. And also, like, rather than having them do something to her property, she was willing to just take it all out and take them all out, which is a pretty good idea. Like, she knows her priorities, you know. And I think that's pretty awesome. Like the way in which her character is built, and also like I want to say something that's really interesting about the use of language. Like I mentioned earlier, the fact the movie has so many languages in it
mm-hmm,
gives for a really interesting way of playing with words, because obviously there aren't words that are translatable into other languages, specifically English. And there is something that happens with Shoshana
mm-hmm,
that when she meets what's his name? Oh my God, Frederick Soller. When she meets him and she shows him like her ID, well, they are obviously speaking French, but also when she says goodbye to him, like the subtitles just say goodbye, right?
mm-hmm,
But she's saying adieu, and in French, that's kind of like I don't want to see you ever again. Like
mm-hmm,
if you say adieu, like forever, goodbye forever, right? But then when she sees him in the cafeteria and he's like, well, we need to talk later, and she's like, okay, and she doesn't say adieu, she says au revoir, which is like, yeah, see you later, later or something like that.
mm-hmm.
So that kind of shift between her not wanting to see him ever again and then sort of suggesting that they're gonna see each other again is kind of interesting. Like that's I don't really know yet what to make out of that, but I think that she sort of feel like she was already planning on doing something to the Nazis in the moment she found out that he was sort of popular and famous amongst them. And I think that's really interesting that you can kind of see the moment in which she's starting to manufacture this idea in her mind, and then everything just comes to an end when the Goebbels and the other people visit the cinema and they decide they're gonna do the premiere of the movie in there. And then she just already knows because in the process, well, when she was showing the place to the Nazis and everything, you don't see much of her until they leave. And then she comes back and she tells Marcel, she's like, I'm gonna burn this place down. And he's like, what? So it kind of seems like it came out of nowhere, but it really didn't.
No, I agree 100%. He does that. That's what I find so interesting when it comes to languages in this film, because he's able to plant those little seeds, right? It's just those little subtle things, and it's also just the way that Laurent just completely approaches the character, just the body language, just how just hold the specific way she's holding that cigarette at that cafeteria. It is
Oh yeah.
it's amazing. It's just her body language. It makes her like, for me, the perfect femme fatale, because she's scared. She's scared of what's gonna happen. That's why when Hans Landa leaves after eating the strudel, she
Yeah.
she kind of lets out a sigh of despair and kind of cries a bit, but still at the end, in in her head, she still wants to find a way to kill this motherfucker.
Yeah. Also, like, I think it helps the fact that you didn't really see what happened to her when after she escaped, and then how she got the cinema and everything. Because I understand that Tarantino did include a bit of that in the original screenplay, and then just cut those scenes out. But I think that the fact that you don't see what happened to her sort of helps to make her a little more mysterious and a little more I don't know, like a sort of like an obscure thing for not only for the Nazis but also for the audience. Like you don't really what happened to her. You just know that her name is Shanna Dreyfus, and then she changed her name and now she owns cinema, and that's about it. And the Nazis just know that she owns the cinema, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have like that lack of knowledge that sort of leads you to think that she's purely driven by her, I don't know, like sort of her desire for revenge. But I think there's way more to that, and that's what the opening scene adds to the story. Is like they killed her entire family.
Mm-hmm.
She saw them die right there, and she was, for a reason, the only survivor out of all of them. So gotta make something out of that. Like it's not like Landa like forgave her and let her run away out of compassion or piety. It wasn't that. It was like just the thrill of keeping the hunt going.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, okay, well, this is what you wanted, and I'm gonna end it. And I think that makes a really really interesting character out of her.
Yeah, it makes an interesting character out of her, and it also 100%, 100%, what's it called, reinforces the idea of the Nazis not having humanity at all, and that's what Aldo, when he's like, we're not here to talk humanity into these motherfuckers. Like, they ain't got humanity. We're here to kill these motherfuckers, and we're here to get them out. And what's it called? It's cathartic in a way that Tarantino allows the character who suffered the most through these vile pieces of shits to be the one to deliver the final blow and kill him. She
Yeah,
she didn't have to kill Hitler. She had to kill the regime. The regime.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what meant more to her. Because she knew that.
Also,
Mhm.
yeah, like about the subject of humanity, I think it's really important because obviously we know, like, it's been established that Nazis don't have humanity. But when Frederick Seller gets into the projection room and she will shot him, uh, she goes to check on him,
Yeah.
and that was something that really confused me at first because I was like, why are you doing that? Because she also looks kind of I don't know. She's a look on her face that kind of sees like, okay, I don't like you, but also if you're like agonizing or something, I want to see what I'm gonna do after that. Like she's not shooting to kill; she just shot him to like get him away from her, and then that's kind of like, I guess, that last trace of humanity that she didn't show all along, all throughout,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of coming out there, and that's what gets her killed, which I think is, I don't know, it's a really strong moment. It's a really
Yeah.
tough moment. It's a really tough scene to watch for me because I love her so much, and I was like, I was watching it, and the slow motion and the music and just the blood, and it's so good, but also I was like, no, I was devastated. I felt so sad about that bit, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, come on, don't do this to me. But I guess it had to happen.
Yeah, it's because in a way she's losing one more member from her audience because she wants him. She didn't want to be the one to kill him. Like she wanted him to burn in that fucking fire along with them.
Yeah.
But it's also her kind of like, shit. I just fucking actually directly. I directly just killed a man. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
because
I crossed the line that I didn't want to cross. I'd rather him die by the burning of the theater because I at least did that to the theater itself. I didn't directly kill someone, so it's
yeah, I
really
guess it
interesting.
kind of follows like that same example, that same line of Aldo saying like, "Oh, when Nazis take off their uniform, you don't know that they're Nazis." So for Shoshana, and when she discusses with Solok, and he's like, "I'm more than my uniform," and she's like, "To me, you're not more than your uniform." And then I mean, after all, yeah, as creepy and talky and weird as he was, and a Nazi also, I guess Shoshana kind of had a little bit of I don't know, maybe like an acquaintance type of attachment to him because she had seen him and he was like a frequent client in cinema and everything.
Hmm.
And to her, if he represented the Nazis, then he had to, like you said, he had to die with the rest of them, like in not in a particular and one-on-one type of way. And in the end, it was that one-on-one type of way that she wanted to avoid,
Yeah,
because in that sense, the Nazis that were persecuting Jewish people, they were just like a bunch of powerful a group of people that were chasing like the most vulnerable type of group, and then it was like a power imbalance sort of in there. But in the moment in which both Solar and herself are together in the projection room, they are sort of just kind of equal in a way.
Mm-hmm. Which is really surprising because usually when the femme fatale is done in film, uh, what's it called? It's really it's 100% the fatal woman. Like she has absolutely no care in the world and no care in the world for the people that she's gonna hurt. Really, just brings about the downfall, but also doesn't really have that much of like moral ambiguity to her. But in this one, the
Yeah.
femme fatale is different. It's very different, which is I obviously it's the cinephile in Tarantino trying to make something different using this, using such a trope as the femme fatale. But it's also really it's really what's it called just putting her in this type of story, in this type of what's it called, revisionist history.
Yeah, yeah. And also I feel like that bit is kind of reflected in the scene when she's getting ready for the premiere,
Mm-hmm.
and you hear like this music and you see her making like red lines on her face, which I think is a really cool thing. But
Mm-hmm.
also she's wearing like this little veil thing coming out of her hat, and that's kind of like the mask that she's putting on, like, yeah, I'm tough and I'm ready and everything. And then she walks out and she sees Marcel, and she takes off that thing and she kisses him. Like she's really nervous. She's freaking out.
Oh yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, and she sees him, and I feel like Marcel is kind of like this character of that he's just her only support at this point, because you have to really trust somebody
Yeah.
to tell him that you're planning to kill Hitler and the whole of his partners, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like at that moment she's sort of abandoning that character that she built to live her life. Like she had to build like a core on herself to be protected from an environment surrounded by Nazis. And then in the only moments in which she can be truly herself as she is a person is when she's with Marcel. And I think that's a pretty smart way of showing and also kind of introducing the fact that she's tough. She has to be because she's made it this far. She's smart, but also she's scared. Like she's absolutely terrified. So yeah,
Yeah, and I'm really I love Marcel. I think Marcel's a very sweet character. But it's
yeah,
also something in this film that makes you realize like that's where the heartbreak in this movie is. It's not just it is of course the family being taken away from her, but the fact that she'll never actually be able to publicly be in love with Marcel and have a life with him because of obviously the Nazis were fucking racist as shit, like really, really, really like bad. Like, she could never be publicly like they didn't even want him to be around during the screening because he's black. And
yeah, exactly.
because not only did they take her family from her, like he also took the chance of being with someone she obviously really, really, really cares for.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. Also, I had to bring this up. What's it called? Just one way he's able to get Sam Jackson here. What's it called?
Oh
Narrating
yeah,
the movie.
yeah. Of course, he had to. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, are you sure I can't play Marcel? He's like, no, no, you really can't. I already got somebody, Sam. But do you want to narrate the movie?
Yeah, that was really unexpected. Like I was watching the movie
Hmm.
and I listened to the narration and I was like, wait a minute. I
Yeah,
know the voice. And then I saw like in the credits like Samuel Jackson, and I was like, oh, of course, he had to be. Come on, of
of
course he had
course.
to be. And it's a really cool moment that he
Yeah.
came in to narrate and to sort of break the fourth wall, maybe in a way, of introducing an external, like a parenthesis in the narration to explain like an exposition bit to explain how flammable nitrate films are. And I think that's really cool. Like if you had Shoshana tell said like, oh, these movies are very flammable. Like that's why I'm really lazy. So I think
Yeah.
like the parentheses in there is really a smart way of putting in something that is necessary for the audience to understand, and also have really cool shots of like the films burning, which I think is pretty fun way.
Yeah.
Like me that I've been working with film and nitrate film for a while
Yeah.
is cool to watch. Like, oh yeah, that can obvious like 100% happen. And I think that's really cool. Like if you didn't have that sort of knowledge that film, like just how flammable these films are, then you're gonna see and you're gonna think, this is kind of unrealistic. Like how can you blow up an entire cinema with just film? It's like, well, like this, and there you go, you can have it.
Yeah. There's also a couple of other people who are uncredited in this movie, but they are obviously in this one. What's it called? Harvey Keitel. He's the voice of the OSS commander. Bella B is an usher. And then Tarantino. He is an American soldier in Nation's Pride, but he's also one of the scalp Nazis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's where he makes his cameo. What's it called? I don't know how he said, yeah, you know what? We need another scalp Nazi. Go ahead and let me do it, dude. But it's his. I just let and of course I cannot let us go into the next scene without bringing up the whole my favorite scene. You know, just the whole Gorlami one. It's like, oh my,
That scene is so hilarious.
yeah.
I like it's still suspenseful, but it is very very funny.
It's funny because you also like he's fucking with them so hard. Like he
Yeah.
is trolling these guys so hard. But at the same time, it's so tense because you're like, oh my god, is this where it is? Is this? And then you know the part that comes after with Shoshana is with Hans Landa in the room, and she's like crying, and she thinks like it's about to happen, like he found me out, and he's like, okay, that moment, it's like, oh crap, he was just changing the shoe, and then boom, he goes,
Let's say that's Bridges, right?
yeah, and then he boom goes to
Nah,
choke her
right?
out. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the last theme, and I got to talk about the revisionist history. So yeah, so I listened to a bunch of what's it called, analysis of this film before they did this, and before I finished rewatching the film, so that way I could get a feel for what other people were talking about. A lot of people said that they love this movie up until the point where it does its revisionist history. He goes, some people found it very disrespectful. Some people found it to be very self-indulgent, even though I don't believe it is self-indulgent. I think revisionist history is interesting. Shows like Man in the High Castle are really, really interesting to me. I just haven't finished it. Because it's always in the back of our mind. It's always the what would have happened if this didn't happen. What would have happened if the Civil War never happened in America? What would have happened if the Spanish ruled for a bit for longer than they did in Mexico, or like the famous one? What would have happened if the Nazis fell earlier
Yeah.
than they thought than they did? What do you think about that when people say that the revisionist history is kind of self-indulgent or very disrespectful in this movie?
Mm, okay. Well, I think that I guess it kind of also builds up from the beginning of the movie because you have the Nazis giving their own narrative of like, oh, the Jewish people are like this, Jewish people are like that, and they are kind of just like spitting their alternative facts out there to the other characters, and then when they are watching Nation's Pride, you can see like this parade of a Nazi killing other soldiers, and he's like, yeah, that's so good, and they're so moved. But also the movie is like, I think it's unnecessarily violent. Like it makes no sense other than to just sort of feed into their fantasy. And then I guess that scene in the cinema also has that element of unnecessary violence for the audience because you have a fire, then you have bombs, you have these guys coming in with like assault rifles to shot people even though they are going to burn and explode anyway. So there's like three different sources of ways of killing somebody just to make sure that they're dead. But also you get to see it all. So you have like all these uh like violence on top of more violence for the audience to have a cathartic feeling. So you can you have like these all of these set from the beginning. If the Nazis have their alternate facts, then
Mm-hmm.
the bastards and Shoshana and everyone gets the chance to have also their little alternate facts in this revision of history.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Hitler didn't die in a cinema, but if the Jewish people were this and that they were saying, Jewish people were, then Hitler can get to die in a cinema, shot in a fire, and then blown away by a bomb. So, I don't think it's really self indulgent. I think it's just more like an attempt of trying to balance the power dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think probably the most cathartic moment is just that cinema burning, but it's also seeing Hitler get shot like so many
Yeah.
times. You're like fuck yeah, keep going. Let the scene keep going. I want to see it more. I want to see it again, and again. And but you just knowing because you're being shown these Nazis, basically what's it called, react to their inhumanity and they're loving it. But then you see
Yeah.
that same stuff being done to Hitler and you're like, fuck yeah. Oh yeah, just keep it going. Just keep it going. Keep
Yeah.
shooting him.
Yeah.
Keep shooting him. Yeah. And I don't think it's self-indulgent. I think a lot of his other movies are more self-indulgent than this. I think that, like I say, I think this balances itself out really well. Uh, the revisionist history is just an aspect of the film that I think that it makes for an interesting story, but it's nothing beyond that. It shouldn't be seen as nothing else beyond that. I think it's just Tarantino trying to like you say, balance the power dynamics and really bring a different story. Because what's the point of Tarantino making another World War II movie? Like everybody else has done it, right? What's the
Yeah.
point? He wants to bring his different style into it, and he wants to what's it called, do something different with it. He wants to bring those aspects of the French films because French films that he loved from Godard. Like of course the Bastards are 100%. They are the guys from Band of Outsiders, Le Bande de Pas. 100%.
Yeah.
They're them. They're them. Shoshana is
course.
the femme fatale, but he also brings his love of the spaghetti western by making the style like that. So of course he's gonna make it different, and he doesn't want to make something that's already been made before, even though he does pretty much take from everybody.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Like something that a friend of mine pointed out a while ago is that in the beginning of the movie, Shoshana doesn't understand English because that's why Hans Landau wanted to speak in English. But then when she made little movie for to put it into the nation's private, she's speaking in English. So, maybe she did learn it along the way and then sort of realized like maybe something could have been done in the beginning to sort of save herself and save her family, but then nothing happened. So now she's kind of catching up with the ways in which the Nazis are playing their tactics to, to hurt Jewish people. So I feel like she just decided she wanted to learn English to
mhm.
sort of feel a little bit less um, in the dark on the dark side, and to sort of I don't know, like give them one less way of fucking up with her. And I think that's also really interesting. It's really smart, even though you don't see the process of her learning, but then you know that she learned it and she used it to tell them that they were going to die. So that's
Mhm.
it's awesome. It's also a really huge power move from her.
Yep. It's just Shoshana herself is just a huge power move. Just her character in general. She's a fucking. I'm telling you, like she is 100% one of my favorite characters of all time. But she is my favorite female character ever in a movie. She's the total badass. She is what's it called? The baddest woman ever. Like just incredible. She is one of my favorite characters ever. She's Shoshana, and she's amazing. So
Yeah, same. Love her so much.
ever so much. Yeah. I guess this really does finish it off here. We're done here. We really talked about this movie for a whole ass hour. Wow. Uh,
Yeah.
I've loved having you on, but we've got to get you on the hot seat next. This is it. What I told you I was gonna have to make you do. So, You guys could obviously go watch Inglourious Basterds for yourself. I don't think we really, spoiled all that much, but we probably did. But if you are listening to this and you've never seen this movie, you've already done fucked up from the beginning. So, whatever.
Yeah.
It's been out for 10 years, people.
Yeah, it's been out for 10 years. Come on, if you haven't watched it,
Yeah,
it's not your fault.
Yeah, I'm not here spoiling Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, okay? I'm spoiling Inglourious Basterds. So go and watch it, guys. Also, just, make sure that you guys keep listening to the stuff here. But we're going to finally get into our wonderful final segment here with the great Alejandra. Alejandra, you have 2 movies. You need to recommend a movie, and you also need to call dibs on a movie for season 2.
Yes. Okay. So for my recommended movie, I picked Dancer in the Dark by Lars von Trier.
Ooh, yes.
Musical movie, but it's not the kind of musical that most people are used to. It's devastating, heartbreaking, depressing, and amazing. And Björk was in it. And what more can you ask for? She was amazing in it. I love that movie. And the movie that I'm calling deep for next time, I know it hasn't come out yet, but I have to, is In the Heights by John M. Chu.
Yeah. Wait, In the Heights by John M. Chu. Oh, wow.
Of course, when it comes out, I'm sure I'm going to have a lot to say about it. So I'm going to come here and do it.
Wow. Okay. You really went for it. Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That it will be what's it called? Alejandra's pick for season 2 of the movie of the Cinema Condition. Hopefully we'll start season 2 when the movie comes out. So I don't by the way, guys, like if you guys have not noticed, these episodes are now coming out weekly as opposed to the first 5 coming out bi-weekly. That is because what's it called? I obviously have more episodes in the bag now. I can actually upload them more accordingly to how they're supposed to be coming out. But when we reach the end of season 1, which is, of course, you already know, I already told you guys, the end of season 1 is 2001: A Space Odyssey with Patrick, my friend Patrick. We're going to talk about that movie for the season finale. After episode 30, we're going to have a 2-month or a 3-month period off, and then we'll come back for season 2. And obviously, Alejandra will be in it because she already claimed her film. So, Alejandra can be, found anywhere on the internet. I don't know if she wants to put it out there. Where do you want to tell the people to find you?
Well, mostly on Twitter and Instagram, I guess. My Twitter is Ale/down, call me pizza. I guess I'm gonna have to send you the names so you can put it on the description or something because it's kind of hard to spell it and I don't want to. And they're the same in both places. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I got you. I can say it right here. I already got it up here.
Oh, thank you. Great.
Yeah. Of course. Come on. I always mispronounce it though. It's tough. Like, what's it called? I'm always saying I got my biz. Like, no, like, damn it, I'm not saying it right. But I got you. Don't worry.
All right. Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't really know how to say it either. So.
All right. Alejandra can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Ale, ALE _ call me Pedza.
Yeah.
CALLMEPEZZA. Ale _ call me Pedza. So.
That's it.
All right. Okay, we have ourselves a alarm going off here in my room. Hold on. That's never happened. So that was really odd. I don't know why that just happened. But this has been the Cinema Condition. I want to thank you all so much for listening. And obviously, in the next one, you'll get to hear another movie from a different guest. But my friends, it's been wonderful talking with Alejandra. She is amazing. She's an incredible, knowledgeable person, and I can't wait to have her back on because I think she did amazing. She's an incredible talent. She's natural on this microphone, so I can't wait to bring her back. So with that being said, I will catch you on next week for the next movie. I believe next week is Akira Kurosawa's Ikiru. So that will be that movie makes me cry every time I watch it. So. And that'll be with Mr. Brad Simmons. So, with that being said, my friends, it's been a wonderful time. And I don't have an outro yet, but I guess just something about watching a movie. Watch a movie, guys. Watch Alejandra's recommendation because it's an amazing movie.
Yeah, what's your recommendation? It's gonna make you cry.
See you guys later.